This is the Free Computer Consultant. We're going to do a video today on hard drives and USB drives and the cloning of one drive to another. In this case, what I've got here is a USB enclosure that I've made just kind of out of a kit. It's got a 160 gigabyte hard drive, connections on the back. Just really isn't big enough for my purposes anymore. So what I've done is bought another hard drive to replace it. In this case, it's just a Hitachi Death Star 320 gigabyte drive. And the way I'm going to put all the information from the old drive onto the new drive is I'm going to install both of these drives into a working computer, and I'm going to use one of my favorite programs out there today, Acronis TrueImage software, to clone the one drive onto the other. And you will see that it automatically lets you take care of size differentiation. You can do the new partition the same size, or make, in my case, just make the whole new drive one large partition. And we're going to do it quite easily. We will not even use Windows operating system or anything else. We're just going to boot from an Acronis CD to do that job. And so now I'm going to take the old drive out of the enclosure and the new drive out of the bag, and I'm going to put them in a computer. Here's a shot of the drive in the enclosure. This probably isn't my favorite design. It was an early enclosure that and it did the job. It's not as easy to take apart as the newer ones, but it works. And as you can see, it's got an IDE cable, power cable, and it's got a fan in there, a little bit of circuitry. Not much to it. Very easy to put a kit together, though. Here's a shot of these two drives. Since they are IDE, the only way I can put them into a machine on the same cable is one has to be configured as a master device and one as a slave. With these Hitachi, formerly IBM drives, it's pretty easy to read the code and figure out what you want. The top one here is the master. As you can see, maybe with the code here on the left. The bottom one is the slave. They've changed the code. Isn't quite as easy to read there, but they still have it right on the drive. Some drives it's not as evident. You kind of have to dig into some documentation. That must be done to get the IDE drives to function correctly with both of them on the same cable. Now here you see these drives somewhat strategically placed. One of those things, don't do as I do, do as I say. But we do have the drives separated here, just got a piece of foam for them to sit on. I've disconnected the actual drive that normally runs the computer, so we don't need it. Just need the CD drive and these two new drives, new to the machine that is, cabled together on the same IDE cable. And I'll say as a caveat, you do not need to jumper them in this fashion for master and slave if you are using what's called cable select, where the cable is actually wired in such a way that it tells the drive what to do. And there's a separate jumper setting for cable select on each drive. A lot of your Dell and Gateway and those kind of machines will come with implementing cable select. I don't typically use it. Usually we don't even have more than one drive in the machine. And the new drives, the serial ATA, that's not even a factor anymore. But with the older IDE drives, it is. Now with this particular PC, we don't have the ever so convenient F8 for BBS pop-up on the boot, so I did have to go into the BIOS, tell it to boot from the CD. As you can see, it is the Acronis Rescue Media. And it's giving us a choice. You can boot to the saved version, the full version, or Windows. In this case, I am using the Acronis TrueImage workstation, and we're going to take the full version. Okay, here we are at the main menu. Doesn't quite boot this quickly, but it's fairly quick. We have the choice here. We can back up, do the recovery. Variety of different things can be done, but we're gonna clone this disk. We use the wizard. One of the things I typically do not use is the automatic mode. I use the manual. I want to be precise and know exactly what I'm getting, what I'm going to end up with. And there you can see disk 1 is the old 160 gig drive, and disk 2 is the new 320. It doesn't show quite those numbers because of formatting. It's showing 153 and 298, but you can see primary master, primary slave. So if you have any doubts, if it's not as easy to determine which drive is which by size or by brand, you can always go by master and slave. So here it's asking us to select the old or source hard disk from the available list of drives, and I'm going to make sure disk 1 is highlighted. Click next. Destination is, of course, process elimination here, disk 2, and we'll select that. Now here it's saying that on the old drive, do we want to do something different, destroy the data, wipe it out? No, I want to keep the data for now. I'll wipe it out later. When I know I've got a good copy and I know everything's fine with the new drive, then I can get rid of it at any time. So we'll keep the data. And here you can select the moving method as proportional, and that means that if you used half the old drive as one partition and half the old drive as a second partition, it'll do the new drive the same way, 50-50 or 75-25, whatever, in proportion. Or you can use as is if you just want that 160 gig on the old drive, be 160 gig on the new drive, and have some free space over, you can do that. Or you can do manual. Proportional would work here because it's the full drive, but we'll just click into the manual, kind of see what's going on there. And here's the only part that might be just a tad bit confusing to someone that hasn't done it. If you want to change something, you check the box for Proceed Relayout. And that will actually, even though it is the way I want it, just to show you here what you can do, you can select a partition and you can change it. Tell me how many unallocated bytes before or after. You can grab hold of this slider here, and you can you can move it to, once you start making some changes, just kind of take the hand and move it back and forth. But I do want the entire space for the new partition. Click next, and here you have to uncheck Proceed Relayout, or else you'll end up in a loop and just kind of go back and forth on that screen. But we're going to just, here's the before cloning, here's after cloning, and that's what we want, so click next. Now since we have booted from the recovery CD, this will not require a reboot or anything. It will do it all in this one pass. Click Proceed to start. And it's going to kind of check things out, and it will start moving the data. Now you can kind of see here in the progress bar, it says 2 hours remaining. Start out with 5, quickly change to 3, then 2. Once it actually gets started, you can kind of count on it being fairly accurate, saying an hour and 53 minutes, hour 46. 5 minutes or so into the process, you'll have a pretty good idea how long it's going to take. And no, we're not going to sit here looking at the screen for the whole time. Now you can see the progress bar actually is starting to move a little bit. It's just been a minute or so go by, and it's telling us an hour and 16 minutes remaining. And that's probably pretty close to what it'll turn out being. And now we have successful cloning completed. And hit OK. Exit. It'll reboot. And we are all done. We're all finished with the clone. Want to remember to take this jumper, put it back into the primary or master position. I'll go ahead and reassemble that into the enclosure, and it'll be up and running. The old drive, 160 gigabyte, well, that'll get recycled into a workstation that doesn't need any drive larger than that. It'll be an upgrade for somebody else. That's it for right now. You can see the ease of what was done and how Acronis True Image Workstation does a fantastic job with doing such a task.